Welcome to the World Massage Conference.
Hello and welcome. I am your host, Melanie Hayden, for this class with Suzanne Scurlock, Durana. Today, Suzanne is going to be talking about reclaiming your body's inner wisdom system. If you're joining us for the live class, remember to jump into the chat room located just to the right of the broadcast screen. Take advantage of having Suzanne here in the chat room to ask questions and connect with some other therapists from around the world here. Share your feedback, share what you're learning during the class, and enjoy that interaction. Just before we get started, I'd like to thank our global sponsor, Massage Envy. Massage Envy is a community of caregivers committed to helping people feel their best. They believe that therapeutic massage and customized skincare are an integral part of the well-being journey. If you share this belief, they'd like to get to know you better. Learn more at massageenvy.com/careers. And thank you to our education partner. Associated Bodywork and Massage Professionals provides an extensive array of member benefits and exceptional liability insurance. Visit abmp.com to discover why over 80,000 massage and bodywork professionals have chosen ABMP as their professional association. Thanks to our daily sponsors, Massage and Bodywork Magazine, Bon Vital, Biofreeze, and Massage Warehouse. Reclaiming your body's inner wisdom system. In today's world, we all need full access to our inner and outer resources in order to survive and thrive with the daily demands we face. This class introduces the 6 body wisdom areas, the body myths that keep us from accessing these areas, as well as the process for allowing the deep wisdom of the body to inform and help us navigate our living, working, healing, and relating in the world. Coming to respect and listen to the body's wisdom as the ground of our knowing helps us rediscover our innate spirituality and to develop our emotional intelligence. I'd like to introduce our instructor, Suzanne Scurlock Durana. She's the author of both Reclaiming Your Body and Full Body Presence, as well as creator of the Healing from the Core curriculum. She teaches internationally about conscious awareness and its relationship to the healing process. She is passionate about teaching people practical skills that allow her students to feel the joy of being present in each moment of their lives, feel energized and creative. Suzanne has taught cranial psychotherapy and somato-emotional release with the Upledger Institute for over 30 years and has been a faculty member of the Esalen Institute since 1994. Suzanne, welcome to the World Massage Conference. It's always wonderful to have you here with us.
Thank you, Melanie. It's my pleasure to be here. My pleasure to be here. So I would like to start today, if I could, by looking at an idea that I have been playing with in all different aspects and all different facets of it for many, many, many years. And this is the idea that the more present we are in ourselves, the more present we can be with someone else. And I think that this is such a profound statement, a simple statement, but a profound statement, because most of us as caregivers, as therapists, we're taught to pay attention more outside of ourselves than we are within our own internal landscape. So today we're going to be delving into this and looking into it in a lot more depth than you may have before. One of the things that has come to the surface research-wise since I began teaching this work 25 years ago is that when we include our body, when we include our inner landscape, not just what's between our ears and our brain, but actually the whole rest of our system, that there is a wealth of data, information, wisdom to be gathered. And this is what is the basis of me saying to you, when you are more present in yourself, it gives you innately a capacity to be more present with someone else. So what particular skills do we need to have in order to be more present in ourselves? I'd like to look first at a definition that I have put together and have been using now for about a decade, which is the idea of full body presence. And what it means is that the ability to feel all parts of your body. Now, you'll notice it says the ability to feel all parts of your body, not that we're always in all the little cells of who we are, but we have the capacity to drop inside when we need to. We have the ability to, with a good flow of healthy energy moving through you. Also includes a connection to your inner and outer healthy resources and a good sense of healthy boundaries. So these are the key pieces of full body presence. Full body presence is also the foundation of a strong therapeutic presence. And that's a key piece for us. So let's talk about how we're going to begin to work with the process of full body presence. Just recently I've begun to talk about the fact that there is a core embodiment that is important for each one of us to have our full body presence and to be able to show up and be present for other people. Now, core embodiment, why is it important for us to drop deep inside, to know who we are at our core? Number one is that when you have that capacity to know what's going on in your own inner landscape, it expands your capacity to feel your innate inner resonance. And it gives you also a listening ear to what your energy signature is, what your presence feels like, so that you know who you are and what you need in any given moment. And when you know that, it helps you to discern where your healthy boundaries are, where in any given moment you want to spread your arms and welcome the world and soak it in, and where you might need to be resting all the way out to your skin and saying in a particular circumstance, no, that's not right. That is not right. So it informs and it helps learn your healthy boundaries. Healthy boundaries. Also, the piece for us as massage therapists, as therapists in general, or caregivers of any kind, is it helps us when we can start to track what's going on in the totality of our inner landscape. It gives us very clear signals that help us discern where ethical choices need to be made. What's right and what's not right in this circumstance. What's very, very clear to me right now as a therapist of 35 years, more than that actually, is that when I'm in my gut, for instance, and something is coming into my awareness that just does not feel right, I know it and I trust it. And I put up a boundary that's really important. By the same token, when I have something in my world that feels right, it just feels right, and I don't really know why, I also have learned to trust that as I go in, making choices. Is this something that is truly a practice that's ethical for me to step into right now or not? So this inner landscape of integrity is important for us to have as therapists. And all of these skills significantly benefit not only our working life, but it also is going to affect your personal life. And I have heard this again and again and again from the therapists that I've worked with. And I'd like to just speak with we're just going to run down this list, the things that people have told me that they have come back to me and said, Suzanne, this is what I got from doing these practices that I'm about to show you today. Number one, it enhanced palpation, accuracy, and the ability to palpate, particularly if you work with subtle palpation in your practice. The second thing that people tell me over and over again is I'm not losing energy the way I used to in my practice. I'm actually able to stay full, which means I avoid burnout. So I leave at the end of the day feeling tired perhaps from the amount I've exerted myself, but I'm not drained by what I'm doing. This also gives us a lot more effective treatment outcomes as therapists, and these practices that we're going to be talking about today help you to be present versus doing whatever it is that you do. This is not to say that you don't want to have the studies and the techniques and the knowledge that you have, but once you have those, the most important thing we can do to be really effective therapists is to be able to be present with each person, meeting that person where they are. The last thing on this page is that when you have a full container, when your energy reservoir is full, it's much, much easier to not absorb the other person's negativity or pain who happens to be on your treatment table, or if it's a friend or a family member. You can meet them, be present, have compassion, and not end up absorbing their negativity or pain. The other piece that comes with this is the ability to have empathy versus sympathy. What I mean by this is empathy is actually an asset that we all want to cultivate. That capacity to really walk in someone else's shoes and to understand what's happening is important for us as therapists in order to be able to meet the people in our practice. The ways in which many of us were raised, though, had to do with sympathy, over-giving, reaching into someone's stuff to take care of it for them. Empathy is a very powerful asset. Sympathy, not so much. The other piece, which was surprising to me, is people talk about, when I'm really grounded and full, and I've done this core embodiment process that you've taught me, I am able to stay focused in my sessions and stay clear-headed. I can say no without guilt because I can feel in my gut what's right and what's not. And in my own life, I'm now starting to really stay on my own to-do list and take care of myself. So there's more to give the world around me. And when I'm in my own internal landscape, grounded, full, it's very easy to discern when I'm just feeling anxious about something that's an old pattern, like the gerbil running around in the cage, and when there's actually something going on in my current reality that I need to be concerned about. I also hear people say over and over again, it's really weird, Suzanne, but somehow when I'm grounded and full, my very presence acts as a centering, calming influence when people around me are really overly excited in a negative way. So they tell me, in many cases, they've been able to diffuse volatile situations. And then act versus reacting in their lives. This is kind of a key piece for us as therapists because to stay centered means we keep our energy and we stay in our wisdom. Yeah. So what are the things that I talk about in my new book, Reclaiming Your Body, that are the 5 body myths that keep us as therapists and also keep our clients from really dropping in and paying attention to what's going on inside? Well, if you've had a painful circumstance in your life, one that really has just taken you down, and so when you drop inside, close your eyes, feel your spine against the chair or your sitting bones, and all of a sudden all you can feel is this huge pain in your chest. It's going to be very difficult at times to stay present internally. And when someone's had old trauma that has been very painful for them, they often are living from the body myth that the body, the totality of it, is too painful, when really only one particular area is painful. And when you learn to cultivate your core embodiment, it gives you enough of a reservoir to be able to hold and stay centered with what is painful within yourself so that you don't have to shut down or clamp down when something comes up that isn't pleasant in your life. So this body myth will often keep people from even really starting the core embodiment process. The second thing is if you were raised with the idea that your body, anything below your neckline, is mysterious and dangerous. This often refers to if you grew up with a lot of emotional charge in your family of origin. You had a parent that was a rageaholic, or you had a parent who had a mental illness, so they were erratic and you didn't know what was coming next. There's often a sense that the body, that this being, who I am, is something that's uncontrollable, when in fact it really isn't. It's the compartmentalization, the locking away of the different parts of ourselves that we've disowned that makes it more under pressure and can actually cause us to do things and say things that are not who we are at a soul level. So the body is mysterious. It's not dangerous. But that myth can often keep people from wanting to drop in and explore who they are. And then there's the whole sexual aspect that goes on in our culture. The next body myth is the body is seductive and will lead you astray. And it's interesting because our sensuality and our sexuality, if it's not integrated, if it is in our shadow as therapists, it can wreak havoc in your life. And I love the wonderful story that one of my colleagues told me one time. He said, the pieces we're not willing to recognize and own are the ones that will drive the bus of who we are. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? And he goes, well, I was teaching a class, and I asked the students how many people in the room have actually had a client be attracted to them. And probably 3/4 of the room raised their hands, he said. And then he thought for a moment, and he said, and how many of you in the class here have actually ever been attracted to a client? And no hands went up. And it was fascinating because he thought to himself, and he knew, he's one of my favorite colleagues. He's very much into projection and shadow and all of this. He said, here's a group of people that are probably having a lot of trouble with someone in their practice that they're attracted to, or to anything that's seductive in their life because they can't actually admit it's there. So if you walk around feeling like, oh my God, I just have to clamp down on this because the body is seductive and it's going to lead me astray, rather than owning it and integrating it, this can be a problem for moving into deeper integration. It will stop you every time. The next body myth to be worked with is that your body's out of control and it must be dominated. I often find that really, really crack athletes or people who have come from cultural influences where everything has to be clamped down on and pulled into line. That kind of thinking is very detrimental to having a healthy, friendly relationship with your body. And I tell the story of a wonderful client that I had who trained for and then did a marathon. And she came into me 2 months after the marathon was done, and she had been hobbling ever since the marathon took place. And I asked her, what happened? I put my hands on her shins, and they were just as hot as they could be. And I said, this is really interesting. Well, it turns out that she had, going into the final, 4 or 5 miles of this marathon, her legs, her shins began to just scream at her. But she didn't slow down and walk. She buckled down, kept running, and by the time she crossed the finish line, she was in excruciating pain. So what's interesting here is once I actually listened to her legs and asked them to speak with her, she was able to realize that her need to control and dominate her whole body was keeping her from being able to heal. And so we talked about that whole process, and when we finished up, her legs were beginning to cool off. She agreed not to continue to run, but to really rest them. And very shortly thereafter, her shins healed after 2 months of just screaming at her. So when you have and those of you who are in this category, the perfectionists on this presentation, know who you are. If you're someone that really needs to do it right, by golly, and I'm not going to stop until I do, it's very important to remember that our body and our relationship with our body is the most important thing for us to be able to move forward with this core embodiment process. And when you feel like you need to dominate it, that is a body myth that you definitely want to work with and dispel so that you can come back into right relationship with yourself. The final body myth is one that we see a lot with highly educated people, that the body knows far less than the brain. I cannot tell you the number of highly educated people I've had on my table or in my classes who have done some very, very profound healing and come back the next week and said, I felt great as I was getting off your table. Then I began to second guess, and I began to wonder why this happened, and could it be true, and oh my goodness. And so by the time they came back, they had clamped down on whatever it was that the body had done, and they had discounted it and lost touch with it. So this idea that the brain is king and that it knows far better than our body is a myth that absolutely must be dispelled in order for you to gain access to these wisdom areas in your body. And these 5 body myths are general categories that I have seen across the last, 25, 30 years, and they are the things that you want to recognize. If any of these or all of these sound familiar to you, it's really helpful to bring them to mind, notice how it affects you, and then say to yourself, could I be open to the possibility that my body does know every bit as much as my brain? Or could I be open to the possibility that my body has a wonderful sense of its own balance and control, and it does not need to be dominated at all? Or my body and its energy, my sensual energy, is part of the engine that fuels the work that I do and the joy that I feel. And it's not seductive, and it's not going to lead me astray. Or just to recognize that the body has mystery to it, but it's a wonderful mystery. It's not a dangerous mystery. It's something that reveals itself to us day in and day out as we go through our lives with a good, friendly relationship in constant dialogue with it. And, of course, the final body myth there that's at the top of the page. What if I were open to the possibility that my body has places that have pain? I've experienced things that were physically or emotionally painful, but it's not the totality of who I am. It's not the totality of who I am. And as I grow my core embodiment, I'll be able to tenderly and carefully cradle and hold these painful places until they heal and integrate. So this is what we're looking at with these 5 body myths and their antidotes, which are an important thing for you to cultivate if you want to be able to show up for people. Because you, as a role model and a therapist, need to understand not only how you're pinned, but how other people in your practice and your life might be pinned, so you can have compassion for them as well. Okay, and when we are believing these different body myths, we end up with what I call disrupted body presence. Now, we talked about full body presence and what that is and what it brings you, but what most of us right now on this presentation are sitting here with is some version of disrupted body presence. And I say most or all of us because we're all human, and because, as far as I can tell, most of us have not reached enlightenment. So to recognize that this is where we are and to just very gently bring it out of the shadow and say, okay, at times, in fact, maybe a lot of times, I have an impaired ability to sense or feel certain parts of my body due to physical or emotional trauma. I may have a disease challenge, or I may be in a state of exhaustion or stress. I may have a sense of sensory disorganization, or I may have grown up in a culture or a religion where the rules about body awareness have locked me out of my ability to have full body presence. This is a really powerful thing to acknowledge to yourself with kindness, without judgment, but just gently notice, because then when you notice, you're actually able to move back in the direction of more full body presence. So in my latest book, Reclaiming Your Body, I explore 6 main body wisdom areas. And these areas are the deep inspiration of the heart. Our heart is like the fire that gets us cooking. And we even talk in our culture about the inspiration of the heart, that he was on fire with that idea. And it is a part of who we are that hopefully that soul quality of who we are, is driven from in a good way. And the heart needs to be connected to and deeply informed by the instinctual knowing of our gut. Our gut gives us a kind of interoception. It helps us know when things are really right and when they're really off. And it's a very important part of ourselves to have connection to, and for our heart to be connected to our gut. And the gut also needs to be connected to and supported by the power of our pelvis, the sensual engine of the body. This is the part of the body that when we have access to it, it gives us the fuel to drive who we are, to give you the capacity to follow through on those inspirations in your heart and fuel the instinctual knowing in the gut. So the power of the pelvis is a huge, huge energy center and wisdom area of the body. And below the pelvis, and an important part connected to the pelvis, is to activate your legs and feet. Because your legs and feet actually help you metabolize or activate all of the things we've just spoken about, the power in your pelvis, the instinctual knowing of your gut, the inspiration in your heart. When you get out and walk, run, swim, getting your legs and feet moving, it activates the entire system and gets it cooking, which is great. And then if we drop into our bones, we feel the steadiness of our spine, our sitting bones, our legs and feet. And we can sit there quietly, deeply inside. There's a clarity and a steadiness that arises from core embodiment going on in our bones. And then if all of these 5 areas come together and are connected to the brain, mostly your prefrontal cortex and the areas of the brain that are connected to your prefrontal cortex, you are now connected up in a beautiful way. You have an integrated full body presence because the brain, particularly that prefrontal cortex, is a great strategizer and map maker. So these are all the areas that we are meant to live in. This is innate territory for us as human beings, and most of us don't even realize it. We're missing out on it. So we're going now to do an exercise where I'm going to introduce you to your inner landscape, and we're going to explore some of these areas, and hopefully you'll be able to play with each one of them, what you notice within yourself. So when I'm talking about taking you into your inner landscape, I am speaking about you beginning to notice first-order sensations. First-order sensations, meaning physical impressions like feelings that you may be having, knowing that suddenly shows up, the interoception of your gut, knowing when something's right or wrong. You might get visual hits that don't have any interpretation, just something shows up on the screen of your awareness. On the sensing realm, you may have a feeling sense of shape or color, temperature, texture, weight, fullness or emptiness, a sense of density or thickness, a sense of something being quickened, like a volatility, a pace or a rhythm or a vibration. So let's talk about some examples of these, and then we're just going to dive right on in. Examples of first-order sensations that you might notice would be dropping inside and noticing a sense of wetness or a sense of dryness or dampness, a sense of being drenched, a density or a sense of something being compressed or spacious, something feeling cool or warm or perhaps cold or hot. You might feel a vibration or a tingling. You might have the feeling of a particular color or even see a particular color. You might notice that something smells a particular way in your mind's eye. You might notice that something feels thick or it feels very fluid. You may get to a part of your body and it feels heavy, or it may feel clear and sharp. Something may feel smooth. You may get into your knees and they feel stiff. You may get into your calves and they feel juicy. Something may feel sparky, like it's lighting and igniting, or it might feel fluttery, or you may have an area that feels numb. All of these things are first-order sensations. You'll notice they have no story behind them. These are just sensations. If, as we're doing this work, you find that you come across an emotion of some kind, do your best to drop under that emotion and look at what's the first-order sensations that's underneath that emotion. So let's say you find some sadness in your chest when we drop inside, and then that takes you to the story of some loss that you have just had. Allow yourself, rather than exiting into the story, allow yourself to just ask, get curious. What's the sensation of this sadness? Is it heavy or light? Is it wet or is it dry? What's the color of it? So you're dropping deeper under the emotion. And we're going to invite you to bring your curiosity and to simply listen to your inner landscape. Notice whatever sensations show up as I ask you a series of questions. And whatever you feel is okay. Just know that whatever you feel, you cannot do this exercise incorrectly. Okay? And it's not a mental process. You're not going to will yourself to do it. You're just simply, so it's an exploration. So whatever shows up is information for you. Okay? So take a moment now and get your feet on the floor and allow your awareness, letting your eyes close gently, letting your awareness drop inside and be curious about your breath. Just noticing your breath. What's the temperature of the air as it comes in through your nostrils, travels down into your chest? Yeah, and then as it exhales. Feeling the sensations of the rise and fall of your chest and your spine, whatever you're leaning back against, whatever's supporting you. Yeah. And taking a deep breath. And as you exhale, letting your awareness, your conscious awareness, drop down into your belly. Yeah. Into your gut. Yeah. And then just a little farther down into your pelvis. Good. And without trying to change anything, notice how your heart feels today, that wisdom area of your heart. Yeah. And then notice your gut, your belly, and how open, how clear, how energized it is. Be honest. Don't judge yourself. And then your pelvis, noticing it and how it is with you. Yeah. What's your relationship here with these three wisdom areas as we begin? We're just taking a baseline. Yeah. And then drop back and notice how your spine feels. Can you feel your backbone? Can you feel it as much as you're feeling your chest rise and fall? As you inhale and exhale, what's your relationship like with your bones? Yeah. And then dropping down into your pelvis, down on into your legs, your knees, your calves, right on down into your feet, resting on the floor, on the earth. Yeah. What's your relationship with your legs and feet feel like? Do your legs and feet feel far away, or do they feel connected to your pelvis? Do they have anything to share with you? Yeah. And then before we go to fill our energy reservoir, notice how all these areas are or are not so connected to your brain. To your brain. Is your brain still feeling like it's the king or queen and is trying to control it all? Or can you feel little signals starting to filter up there from these body wisdom areas? Just noticing where you're starting out with today. Good. Good. Then inhaling and exhaling, let your awareness just right down to your feet until you're feeling your feet right on the ground. Feeling the bottoms of your feet, your heels, the balls of your feet, your arches. Feeling the weight, the gravitational pull of the earth. Feeling this connection that you have, that we all have, to this unconditional, positive resource that's with us all the time. Yeah. And let your awareness now leave your body for just a moment and let it travel down into the earth. Get curious about what the earth feels like underneath of you. And you can put down light beams, rivers, roots, whatever metaphor works for you. Yeah. Just dropping in, sinking in, letting any tension that you've brought to this presentation just drain right down and out, like water running downhill. You can also just take a nice easy breath and exhale it. Letting go of anything you no longer need so there's space in your energy reservoir to fill with what would nourish you most. Yeah. And we know that the earth field has a very nurturing, nourishing effect on ourselves and ourselves when we purposefully, mindfully turn our attention to receiving from the earth field. So take a moment now and feel your feet and their connection to the ground and ask your feet, what would feel most nourishing and nurturing right now in this present moment? And notice what sensations show up. Do you feel a pulse or a hum? Does it feel like a particular color? You may notice that your feet feel a little longer or wider. Or you may simply notice that your feet feel different when you intend to soak up nourishing sensation all the way to the core of your bone marrow and all the way out to your skin as best you can in this moment, being gentle with yourself if you've never done this before, or even if you have. Yeah. Yeah, and letting your feet fill. Give yourself permission to receive nourishing, nurturing energy. Yeah, whatever that sensation would be for you. And your feet know. Your feet know. Yeah. And then asking your ankles, what would nourish them most? And we're going to just let this river of nourishing sensation start to flow into your ankles. Again, from the core of your bone marrow all the way out to your skin. Your calves, your shins, your knees. When I'm working with my knees and really wanting to fill them, I place my hands on my knees and I just rub easy, slow circles around my knee, caps around my patellas, and brings more sensation there for me to let all the nooks and crannies of my knees fill. Yeah. Good. Good. And you might be noticing that already there's a particular area that has a little bit more difficult time receiving nourishing sensation. Maybe it's an old injury site or something's gone wrong there. Just gently cradle it with your awareness. And when you're ready, go ahead and move on. Yeah. We're activating your feet and legs as your thighs begin to soak up whatever would nourish and nurture them most from this river of nourishing sensation, from the bone marrow of your femurs all the way out to your skin. Yeah. Good. Good. And taking your time when you're ready, move on into your pelvis and the bones of the pelvic bowl, letting your bones fill. These sturdy, strong, your ilia, your pubes, the sacrum, letting everything fill and be nourished. Yeah. Offering a safe container for your pelvis, for your reproductive system as well as your digestive tract. The whole pelvis to be tuned up, filled, nourished, so that the pelvis can do its job, activated by the feet and legs. This flow of nurturing sensation. Yeah. And as your pelvis fills, your spine starting to really soak up, move forward. There we go. Moving right on up your spine. Noticing as you go, when you ask each spinal segment, what would nourish you most? Each area will tell you what it needs. And that will just show up on the screen of your awareness. A feeling of warmth or coolness, perhaps the feel of a particular color. And it may change as you move from one body area to the next. And as your pelvis fills, let your whole belly gut area fill. Good. All the organs of your midsection, your dantian, around your belly button. Yeah. Yeah. Right on up into your ribs and the area of your heart, lungs, moving up your spine. Yeah. Breathing a nice, easy breath. Easy breath. Letting your heart soak up whatever would nourish it most from this river of nourishing sensation that's coming in. Yeah. Good. 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 Allowing as your heart fills and your lungs fill to the best of their ability right now. Letting your upper chest and your shoulders down your arms and into your hands. Letting it all fill. You may even want to reach your hands and arms up over your head and let them stretch out. Wiggle your fingers so that this river of nourishing sensation that's coming in from the earth, traveling through your legs, through your torso, is now just gently, easily flowing down your arms and into your hands and fingers, streaming. Excellent. Good. Good. Remember, if you find areas that are having a little bit harder time, be gentle with them. Have compassion, not judgment. Yeah. Good. Good. And as your hands and arms fill, your heart fills, and your lungs, allowing this river of nourishing sensation to begin to soak into your throat, your cervical spine, on up into your face, your mouth, your eyes, your nose, your ears, listening to this presentation, letting yourself be drenched in nourishing sensations here, all of your sensory system here. Yeah. I notice myself as I'm doing this with you that my eyes are floating back in my head. As I ask my eyes, what would feel most nourishing and nurturing? There's this sense of them spreading out and dropping, just floating backwards in my head, like I was too focused forward, and they need time to rest back. Notice how your eyes feel as you ask them, what would nourish and nurture you most, eyes? Yeah. Good. 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 Yeah. And when you're ready, beginning to let your brain, all of the nuclei, fluids, membranes, structures, all the bones, to be filled, nourished to the best of their ability right now, and to the best of your ability right now, receiving at a pace that works for you, at a pace that works for you, whatever would nourish and nurture you most today. Yeah. Yeah. And as your cranium fills, allow yourself to let this river of nourishing sensation move right out the crown of your head, showering down around you, bathing your skin and the energy field that runs through it and around it. Good. Good. And if you have any sense of pressure there at the crown of your head, you can just reach up and gently rub it, scratch it, or pick up on your hair right there at the crown of your head and lift up very gently. It pops that door open so that you become truly a conduit between the earth beneath us and the heavens above us, connected deeply to the world around you with healthy boundaries and a clear sense of who you are. Yeah. Good. Good. So take a moment now before you open your eyes and come back onto the call. And notice how your feet and legs feel now compared to when we began. Your pelvis, that powerful engine of the pelvis, how's it feeling? And your gut, that instinctual knowing. And your heart, the inspiration of your heart. And then back into your bones, the deep, clear space of your bones, that steadiness. Yeah. And last but not least, your brain, how all of these deep wisdom areas innately inform your brain all the time. If everything has gotten a good connection, it happens automatically. Yeah. Good. Good. And when you're ready, allowing your awareness to come back onto the call. And I would like to ask Melanie if she has any questions, if there's any thoughts. Melanie, you have worked with me for many, many, many years, and I would love to know what questions you have, what thoughts you have as we're finishing up here with our session today.
Hi, Suzanne. I always love experiential classes. So that was especially, it just gave a great opportunity to tap into a really deep sense of where everything was at. I think one of the things I like the most is that you commented a couple of times about if there is a part of the body where you're feeling something in particular, to really just sort of wrap ourselves around that and acknowledge that. And I think that that has to produce a more healing effect on the body as we pay a little bit closer attention to that. And instead of sort of judging that or reminding ourselves of some kind of limitation that we might have with that, to really take the time to nurture that part of ourselves.
Yeah, yeah. That's true. You know, I think I actually just wrote this in my last newsletter, but I was in a class this past month, and I was talking with the class about how, you know, when I get a signal from my body, I start to feel a little disconnected in some way, that I use it as a flag to help me move back in the direction of more aliveness and more of this core embodiment that we're talking about. And this woman raises her hand and goes, oh, my God, I do the same thing. But when I have that red flag, I start to beat myself up. Oh, no, I left my backbone again. When am I ever going to be able to rest back in my bones on a regular basis? And she said, and then once I'm mad at myself, now I feel ashamed because I've judged myself, and now I'm going down this whole rabbit hole of judgment, and it takes me forever to get back. She says, I like the way you do it much better. And that's exactly what you're talking about. If you can see the parts of yourself or notice the moments where things start to go south and you start to feel less connected, or it could be the parts that you just have never really had that much connection to based on some kind of childhood trauma or some cultural way or rule that you grew up with. Now you can be gentle with yourself. And so the exploration of it and the moving back into it, the embodying more deeply at a more core level, it goes so much more easily, and more love is involved in it, a lot more love and less judgment. So thanks for bringing that up, because that's a very key part of everything I do in my work.
Well, and that's what I really love about what you're, again, going through that experiential part. How many clients come in and, oh, my damn back is out again, and oh, my knee, it's just, I'm so mad at my knee. Or, we really beat ourselves up, or we beat up that part of the body. And there's so much information about the placebo effect and the nocebo effect that everything we tell ourselves, all the communication that we have internally in our dialogue, makes a difference in our healing process. So this is a really big component here, I think, that we can uncover for ourselves and be more in tune with our clients in the way they talk about an injury or they talk about something that's going on in the body.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I mean, that's a really key component. How we talk to ourselves is really, really important. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there's so many therapeutic modalities that are now getting into sort of that asking the questions of the body. So some of them are literally asking out loud, and some of them are more subtle that the practitioner may be sort of communicating with the body on that touch level and listening. And maybe you can speak to a little bit of that to them, because, of course, that's a lot of the work that you do and the work that you teach is that listening to the body.
Yeah, yeah. It's a core piece. And one of the beauties of doing body work is that we have a really accelerated tool, which is nurturing touch, to bring people into deeper connection with themselves. People that are getting really good body work are building core embodiment. I mean, think about it. When you've had really wonderful body work sessions, you walk out feeling more of your core, of who you are. You feel more relaxed. You feel more present. And touch accelerates all of that, nurturing touch. So so people can talk about their issues and work with their own healing process in psychotherapy all day long, but the work that we do as touch therapists has so much, there's so many more tools that we have that are beautiful to use, and I want to really encourage everyone to do that. Yeah, that's a really key piece. Mm-hmm. And I love this particular slide. Before we move on, listen to yourself and listen to the people on your tables. Notice what you notice, and also do your best to keep your judgment out of it, no matter what it is. Whatever you feel, whatever you sense is okay. It's okay. Yeah.
Well, you make a good point there, and just your sharing of what one of your students said is about when we do judge ourselves, then we, and especially after we've taken some training and we are working really, we're working towards like really being present and to not judge ourselves. That when we go into that, oh, I just judged myself, oh, I just gave myself a hard time about that, we go into that other spiral of, shame and all those other things. Yeah. So breaking that cycle really quickly is, again, a practice. It's, look, that's an observation. Oh, I went down that path again. Oh, great, but look, I caught myself a lot quicker this time. Wow, how fantastic.
Yep. And let's see how quickly I can let go of it. And move back into connection, a connection with myself. Yeah, at that deeper level. Yeah. So on the current slide right here, I want to point out to everyone that there are 2 different free gifts that we have for people who are listening to this show. We have a wonderful free report called Trust Your Gut and Get Unstuck. And also on the other free gift is a 10-minute ground and fill, which is what you just worked with me with. We call it the grounding and filling that gets you to core embodiment, gets you to your full body presence. Yeah. So both of these, I don't know how long they'll be up, so go right away and click on them and take advantage of it, because I'd love to support you, each one of you, in moving further into your core embodiment and your feeling of your aliveness as you are in your practice and in your lives. This is an important piece.
Hello.
Yeah.
Sorry, I totally dropped off. I'm just like, it just beeped and dropped me off. So not sure where it punted me. So I think we were just talking about.
I was just talking about the free report that goes they can get. I just went through that with them.
Okay. So let me just. Maybe we'll do that piece over again, because I was gone for about 2 minutes. So
okay.
Maybe I can just say, Suzanne, can you tell us more about where we can get? Or could you tell that I dropped off?
No. Well, it just went silent. It just went. Okay. You went silent, but I was talking, so I didn't even.
Okay. Perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
So then, so did you finish talking about the offer?
Yes, and then I thought you were going to pick up and say, yeah, we're wrapping up now, but it was just silent afterwards. And what I would like to do, I would like to read from a very small quote just to finish up, so when we go back to recording again. Okay, so we'll start, let's see. Now, so if I came in and I just said, I just want everyone to make sure that they take Suzanne up on her offer. Make sure. Okay, perfect. Yeah.
And then I can say, is there anything else you'd like to add? And then you can add that. Okay, great stuff. Okay. Sorry about that. I literally had no idea what happened to me. Okay. So we'll go and we'll just give a little quiet break here for a second. I just want to really encourage you to take Suzanne up on her offer and get that report, and especially to make sure that you get that grounding exercise, because that's one of the things I was going to say is this would be such an amazing way to start your day, to go into this type of exercise, to go into this type of kind of grounding and meditation piece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. It's something I do. I use it every day, sometimes multiple times.
Oh, that's great. So if you have a particularly maybe challenging part of your day, just take 10 minutes and listen to that and just kind of, reground and reconnect. So fantastic. That's a great offer. Thank you so much, Suzanne, for that. And, and we've got your website addresses, and I also encourage our listeners, if you're really interested in this work, definitely get onto Suzanne's mailing list so that you can be updated when she's going to be in your area, or you want to take a trip to somewhere where Suzanne's going to be teaching, and that's a nice little write-off for you. So keep that in mind as well. And just before we go, Suzanne, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
I would love to read on page 8 of my new book, Reclaiming Your Body. There's just a great quote that I'd like to finish with, because I think it's so well-spoken, and it says it just right to the core. It's called The Most Important Relationship in Your Life. Your relationships with other people throughout your lifetime, with your parents, spouses, children, friends, and teachers, will shift as time passes and situations change. As long as you are alive, however, your body is always with you. It is so beneficial to have a strong, deep, intimate relationship with your own unique physical self. Your body is designed to guide you, keep you safe, and bring you full vitality and pleasure. It's the vehicle through which you create and manifest your thoughts and dreams into reality. In this book, you'll discover how establishing and nurturing a healthy relationship with your body will allow you to reclaim lost parts of yourself, tap into your body's wisdom, and better navigate your life. I think that about says it all.
That is wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time to read that. And thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us, to remind us about getting in touch with our body. You gave us a great tool to help us really go deep in and really reconnect, and then some great opportunities to stay in touch with you.
Good. It's always a pleasure to work with you all, Melanie.
Thank you, and it's always a pleasure for us to work with you as well, Suzanne. And just before we go, I'd also like to thank our sponsors. Thank you to our global sponsor, Massage Envy. As a massage therapist, you put your heart and soul into helping others feel their best. You deserve a career that nurtures you as a person, an artist, and a professional. Visit massageenvy.com/careers to find a career that cares for you. Massage Envy franchise locations are independently owned and operated and are the sole employers for all positions they hire. Thank you to our education partner, Associated Bodywork and Massage Professionals, provides an extensive array of member benefits and exceptional liability insurance. Visit abmp.com to discover why over 80,000 massage and bodywork professionals have chosen ABMP as their professional association. Thank you to our daily sponsors, Massage and Bodywork Magazine, Bombitell, BioFreeze, and Massage Warehouse.